Great thing about sweet potatoes is, well, people get them mixed up all the time. Is it a yam? Is it a sweet potato? Well, we're talking about the sweet potato, a little less starchy than the yam. So the idea here is cook these off ahead of time, or maybe you have some left over. We're gonna get them cool to the touch, just to where we can kind of handle them a little bit. Poke some holes in them, roasted them off in the oven, just the normal way you'd cook them. And look at that. Look at that beautiful color. Huh? Take this into the bowl. Some grated parm, maybe about a cup. A little olive oil, a couple tablespoons of that. Little brown sugar. I know that we have the sweetness of the sweet potato going on, but a little brown sugar will go a long way. A little salt and pepper. There we go. And here's where we really start adding the subtle flavor, but the flavor that everybody will go like, why? Why does this gnocchi taste so fantastic? It's this. We're gonna use a little thyme, a little fresh thyme. So a little bit of thyme. And last but not least, say holidays, what do you think? You think nothing. Okay, lock that down. Let that slowly whip together there for a second. Turn it up. We're gonna really let that fluff up. We're really gonna put a lot of air into that and aerate it. It's gonna be nice, and that'll help it get nice and creamy. Because remember, on the gnocchi, you don't want those dense little hard pillows. You want to be nice, light, and fluffy. Now this right here looks like pumpkin pie filling, just in the savory sense. Bring this off. Get a little bench flour here. Now I was gonna be using maybe up to 2 cups of flour for this, but we're really gonna be looking for what the texture of this is gonna look like. Want it to be a little bit pliable. Seems like a little now, but there's a ton of flavor in that. And again, just the opportunity to repurpose that sweet potato. Could have been left over. You know how you have the big Thanksgiving party the night before? Well, the great thing is you could cook off those sweet potatoes, had them done and ready to go. Just one less thing that you have to cook on the actual big turkey day. Okay? There we go. Get a little more flour right up on top of that. Lightly start putting it together. Oh, this is perfect. Making gnocchi, it takes a lot of time. Well, it doesn't take a lot of time. It takes patience because you're working with something really super delicate. So what I've got here is some sweet potatoes I cooked ahead of time, made this fantastic little mixture with a little bit of thyme, a lot of Parmesan cheese, and some olive oil, and now I'm just lightly kneading in the flour. It's not an exact science because I don't know how many sweet potatoes I'm gonna have and how wet they're going to be, so I'm just working them enough just to where they're not tacky, and I'm gonna be able to start to roll them out to make those little dumplings. Okay, this, a touch of flour inside the bowl, pick that up, let it just rest here for just maybe about 30 minutes. So I took the sweet potatoes, kneaded it in a little bit of flour, and then I let it rest there in a floured bowl. Now, cut off a manageable piece, a little bit of flour, and what we're looking for, let me just kind of show you the doughiness is. It's kind of tender like a pillow, not dense, not hard. For the size that it is, it's really kind of nice and light. Kind of feels like it might be a pastry. So I'm just gonna lightly roll this out. There we go. A little bit more manageable piece to work with. Uniform size, so they cook equally, okay? And we'll just knock off little 1-inch pieces. Go. About a tablespoon of salt to a gallon of water, remember that? And you definitely need it with the gnocchi. Start dropping these little dumplings down. When they float, they're gonna be done. We're gonna work them in batches, pull them out, let them cool. It's all coming together. That's how I want them done. Beautiful gnocchi, sweet potato gnocchi with a little bit of thyme and Parmesan cheese, all coming together for the traditional, untraditional items that we make here at the Fieri house or at the ranch for Thanksgiving. Now look at those. A little bit of salt water, took the sweet potato, mixed up the Parmesan cheese, gonna let these rest for just a second. Over here, I've got a little brown butter. So what I did is I started a pan, I'm gonna fire it back up now, started a cold pan, dropped the butter in there, and then slowly let it brown. If you drop the butter into a hot pan, automatically starts to brown, automatically starts to turn on you, and then you're chasing it down. So this right here, I've got it rendered down. I got a bunch of heat on it. Get it right to the brown butter look that I'm looking for. Just get nice and golden. Okay? Gets that little nuttiness to it. Now we'll go ahead, drop this in, and just giving these a chance to cool down a little bit, just to dry off a touch. The thyme in there. And all we're gonna do is just coat this a little bit. I gotta grab some Parmesan cheese. Okay, let that coat up a little bit. A little more heat on that braising liquid. A little parm on top of that, and that's all she wrote. They're already nice and warm. Okay. First, that little pillow. Sweet potato. Melt in your mouth. A monster bowl. A bounty of lemon juice. Some salt. Don't have to go too heavy on the salt. Granted, it all came out of the sea. Black pepper. Let's get in with a little garlic, and I'm just gonna rough chop that garlic. This will break down. It'll share its flavor. Little white wine. And another one of my favorites when it comes to seafood is some capers. They couldn't make the jar any smaller. And they start falling all over the place. Okay? Just like I do with the garlic. Just give it a little pop just to kind of open it up a bit. And last but not least, you think of the spice. Man, I've been to some Cioppino feeds. Woo! I mean, it is all spice. So we'll just add a little bit of chili flake to this. And then to coat it all, to help all this great flavor stick to this seafood, a little bit of olive oil. Okay, let me give this a quick whisk. Now, I'll turn this a few times as I let it marinate. But what we're gonna do right now, we'll drop that nice big piece of halibut in there. That's what we're talking about. Then we'll get those scallops in. Beautiful. We'll throw in, I'm gonna pop that crab in half just like that. Excellent. The other one, look at this, and this is so fresh. Here we go. Down inside, and then we'll throw prawns that will take it real quick. So grab this and a little foil, and we'll go back, because what do you want? You want your seafood nice and cold. So we'll throw a little cover on top of that. All right. All right, grab a tray, because I'm gonna put a little marinade on these as we work. So the first thing I'm gonna start off with is a bunch of Roma tomatoes. Last of the Romas. Tomato sauce and Cioppino, hand in hand. Next up, red bell pepper. Red bell pepper and a big onion. One more, the fennel. The key here is to keep these fronds. We'll hold those to the side. Okay. Fennel, there's that. Now, check this out. Hit a little bit of olive oil. A little bit of salt. Touch of some black pepper. Believe it or not, we're gonna hit it with a little fennel. Fennel's a strong flavor in this Cioppino. Okay, with a little fennel seeds. And we'll hit it with a little red chili flake. Again, spice is a key piece as well. Start to throw the fennel on. Throw the peppers. Just keep an eye on it. And you know, here's the cool thing about this. This is one of those things that you can grill. You don't have to worry about how ugly it looks because this is all going to get pureed up. So if it has a little extra char to it, fantastic. That's a little extra flavor. Look at that. Kind of slide them on. Oh, tell me it doesn't look great already. And to think this is all going to come together for a seafood dish. I'm going to make this fantastic cioppino. I've got a bunch of seafood that's in the fridge right now. And this right here, well, this is the cioppino sauce. You don't typically see it as a fire roasted cioppino sauce, but I'll tell you something, we're going to highlight that seafood incredibly with this. A little bit of chicken stock. Drop this on. Now I took the seeds and the stems out of the bell pepper, but otherwise, everybody's in there. Look at all that char and all those bits. All right, that's my kind of cioppino sauce. Fire roasted, right on. There we go. And if it gets too thick, I got a little chicken stock to thin it out. All right, awesome. Roasted garlic's down. Now, this is where this kind of gets into some decision-making process. What do I want to add first? Well, I've got the hard shell of the crab, and it's pretty industrial. I mean, it can handle the heavy heat. So I'm going to throw that on first. The shrimp, they're protected also with their shell, these prawns, so I'm going to go ahead and throw those on. Look at that. Okay. And here we go. I'm going to put the fish on. It'll probably go on last and come off first. Nestle that right in on top of there. And then I'm just gonna hold those scallops for a little bit. I'll put those on at the last minute. So I'm just trying to finish up this fantastic cioppino sauce. Add a little ouzo there because if you've had a good cioppino, you know it's got some spice, it's got some garlic, and it's got a nice little anise flavor. Okay, so we'll take this. I'm gonna pour it right onto my platter here. Now, some beautiful halibut. It's all marinated, by the way. Leave that right there. Take these beautiful scallops, lay those around the side. And I just want these super, super tender because they're gonna sit inside that hot sauce. I mean, look at that. Tell me that is not gorgeous. Look at that. Get a little bit of the sauce. Just drop a little bit on top of this. I mean, it's gorgeous. A little more. The basil, some of the fennel fronds that I had. Okay. First, I got to dig into some polenta. A little bit of this halibut. And then, when you want to get your crab, I'm a body meat guy. So you dip it right in there. This Dungeness crab. Of all the crab that I have, I mean from king crab, snow crab, you can tell I don't like it. This is the one to go to. So I want to make turchetta. It's Thanksgiving time. I don't want to make, I'd love to have some porchetta right now, but I'm going to make turchetta. So I've got this beautiful turkey breast skin on, and what I'm going to do is make a rub for the inside of it, and then kind of pull the skin back and, well, you'll see how this is going to go together. So, excuse me, I'm kind of working amongst giants. We're gonna get, yeah, no kidding. Get a little bit of garlic, a little sage, a little fresh sage. You wanna pull me some rosemary? So we drop that in, Desk. There. But anyhow, here, I'll give you this, Desk. You start.
I get to do it?
Oh yeah, let me throw some fennel in there. This is awesome. This is really great. I mean, I love having Hunter here to help me, but I got 4 people that know way more than he does. Okay, yeah, a little, oh, now you're just ad-libbing? You're just gonna start throwing in? That's how Ryder does it. He stands on the step and
I
does
gotta
it.
get some height of it.
All right, some fennel seed, a little chili flake, some salt, some pepper, some garlic, some sage, and you know what? Let's start working that out. And who took yellow? Oh, there's yellow one. You got it?
I got it.
Fantastic. So back to this whole porchetta thing. You've had porchetta?
Yes.
You've had porchetta?
I love porchetta.
Okay, so porchetta is where you take the pork loin, you wrap it in the belly, so basically you're wrapping it in all this bacon, and then you roast it off, and you get this nice crackling on the outside of it, so you get tender meat, you get juicy fat. Well, I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna do it with a turkey breast. So the bone is out, but the skin is on. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of peel a little bit of this skin away, because what I don't want to do is roll the skin into the turkey, okay? How are we doing on my great rub, by the way? You got it?
Got it.
Fantastic. While Dusky does that, I'm gonna show you this little butterflying method on this turkey breast. So now what happens is I'm butterflying this open, and that's just so I can get all these nooks and crannies in here filled with a little bit of this great rub. Okay, so I'll butterfly into that. Don't want to pierce through the skin. Okay, there we go. So now we'll drop this in. So the rosemary, the thyme, a little sage, the garlic, the salt, the pepper, okay? There we go.
Here, babe.
Smear this all inside of it, and this is like we're doing a real porchetta, but we're doing it with the turkey, okay? Hit a little bit of salt, a little extra pepper, just a touch. There we go. Now, this is the side that has the skin connected, so I'm gonna roll from here. Dust, could you find me some twine? It's around here somewhere. Look at this. Over the top into itself, and then I bring the skin with it, okay? So it's all wrapped in the skin. There we go. Dust, you want to come underneath that with a loop, but right up here in the center of the top of the breast, okay?
Got it.
You want to tie it or you want me to tie it?
I'll tie it.
Let's talk about turchetta. Turchetta has got some thyme in there. It's got some sage, some garlic, some salt, and some pepper. So, onto the skin. That's what we're talking about. Okay, so I'll put a little sear on this all the way around, then go to the oven with it. So there's no bone in this, but we kept the skin, did a nice job trussing it. What do you think of that?
Dude, that is golden.
That is gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Welcome. Watch out, coming through.
Hot, hot.
Oh, that's gonna rock. And here comes Roxy the dog. She's just looking for some pickup. But I gotta hit a little chicken stock in here because I'm making a little pan jus. But this turchetta, talk about a fantastic piece. Typically, it's, you know, I have a bunch of folks over here.
Did you,
He returns. What's up, bub?
How are you?
So my son Hunter has been off at school at UNLV, where I went to college, and he returns in time. Fantastic. Take that, slice it up, I'll be at the table. No, I'm just kidding. Hunter, this is a beautiful turchetta falling in the form of porchetta, and I trust it. So here we go, Hunter. This is all skin. This is all white meat. There's a platter right back there if you wouldn't mind grabbing that for me. Truss this up really nice so this cooks even. So it cooks evenly. I think I might have trussed it with a little extra twine. Last thing I want to do is serve somebody a big piece of twine. Okay, looking good? What do you think?
Yeah.
There we go. Nice slices. I mean, you know how people all fight for that? I want the breast, I want the white meat. This is it, baby. This is all white meat, and you're just looking at some fantastic color inside of this.
Do we have to serve it, or can we just eat it over here?
I like it. Now they're standing there waiting for me. I can see them. They sound like our dogs were ready to feed them. These guys are sitting over there so hungry. And what a star-studded cast of chefs to have show up. G. Garvin coming all the way from Atlanta. Dusky traveling all the way from Sebastopol. What was that?
Solid 15-minute drive.
Solid 15 minutes all the way here.
All the way.
Okay, Hunter, lift her up. Watch yourself. Oh, this is gorgeous. That turned out just perfect. Look at that shingle out like that. And last thing I got here, Bubba, hold tight, is I deglaze that pan with just a little bit. Oh, that's hot. Little bit of chicken stock right over the top. I won't get you, I don't think.
Oh, that's a little hot.
Was it a little warm?
A little bit.
You're welcome. All right, son, stand over with the chefs. Let's deliver this to the table. They're gonna love this. You know, you start the pan cold with the pancetta. Let the pancetta really render down. The idea is to turn into these little crunchy bits of tender bacon. So the textural experience is really there. The pancetta, when I'm cooking pancetta, I usually have to make about twice as much because my dad will smell it. Well, you saw Roxy, she just came by, she smelled it, and then I eat it. I know you can't tell. But the pancetta is so awesome. The key to this is making sure that we went low and slow to really render it down, and these are actually crunchy. They got that nice little bacon crunch. They're nice and salty, and I'm gonna leave all this rendered fat in there, and this is gonna come together for the sauce for the Cacio Pepe. So, you go to Rome, you'll taste a dish, you'll say this is so simple, but why is it so delicious? Really quality ingredients. Okay, we'll leave that staying warm. Let me grab some half and half. One of my favorite dishes of all time is Cacio Pepe. It doesn't need the cream, but I wanted a little more richness to it. I felt it would be more palatable to people to have a little bit of cream into it, just a touch, not overdone. A little black pepper, a little unsalted butter, and we'll let this just reduced down a little bit. And then the Parmesan cheese that's gonna go in here with the pecorino that's gonna go in here. Dynamite. Okay, now let's get over here. Now you see this right here, I got this cream reducing. Not reducing too much, don't worry about this. What I'm gonna do now is add back in the pancetta, nice and crunchy. Fat in there for all that fantastic flavor. Let me get a little bit of the pecorino romano. So this is that nice salty sheep's cheese, again from Rome. Touch of that. This is gonna tighten up a bunch on you. Don't worry about it because we'll save some of that pasta water and get it in there. Also a little, my favorite, Parmigiano Reggiano. Touch of that in there. Okay, stir that up. And I got boiling water. Now, what's the key with the boiling water? Well, I'll tell you something. If there's one thing that you'll hear in Italy, you'll hear from everybody, is that pasta waits for no one. So everything's gotta be done. I'm gonna turn the heat off on this. The pasta has gotta be done perfectly al dente. So the sauce is done, the salad's done, the dessert is finished. I'll hit a little salt into there. Get some really good linguine. Water's boiling, drop that in. This is how you get it done right here. Some fantastic al dente linguine going into this Roman pasta dish with cheese and fresh cracked black pepper. Look at that. And a little pancetta. Oh yeah, and a little bit of cream. So we're gonna dump that right in. Now I always reserve my pasta water just in case I need some. Outstanding. So what we've got here is a little pancetta that was cooked down. I'm just looking at how much sauce I have, how it's gonna coat that pasta. You know, you gotta remember something. This is Italian style, so it's not a ton of sauce just running all over the plate. It is a little bit tight. So, some water. And I'm gonna add a little bit more of the Parmigiano Reggiano and as well as the pecorino, that fantastic sheep's cheese. Okay, so we'll let that just kind of absorb there. We wanna give this a nice little presentation, not splattered all over the place. We call this nesting in the restaurants. Right on top. You can see how that pasta just started to absorb the last of the sauce. We'll get all of the goodness right up on top. Oh yeah, awesome. Okay, set that down. Now, little fresh parsley. It's been washed, just hand torn. This is nice and rustic. There we go. A little bit more of the parm and pecorino right on top. Isn't that beautiful? The flavor's gonna be outrageous. Talked about it the whole time. Just use really good ingredients, treat it with a lot of respect, cook it the right way, and last but not least, fresh cracked black pepper. That's what it is, cheese and pepper. There you go. Okay, nest that up. Okay, there we go. Now, when you go to Italy, this is one thing I will tell you. Do not ask for a spoon to twirl that pasta. Grab a little bit to the side, bring it over here to the side of your plate, twirl it up. Take some time, sit there and enjoy this. Outrageous. Creamy, salty, a lot of pepper. I love fresh cracked black pepper. Got this cast iron getting hot. Had the butcher knock out a nice local Sonoma County chicken into 10 pieces. We'll hit it with some salt and pepper. Get just a little bit of oil down in this. Okay, so I put the chicken down, skin side first, and we split those breasts in half. This will roast down so nice, it'll almost just be fall off the bone tender. Now, some nice white button mushrooms and a little bit of garlic. This is all gonna be going for this sauce. When I'm gonna let it go low and slow like this, I like slivers of the garlic. Let me get this chicken out of here. So a nice little crust on top. Don't wanna cook it all the way through, but what I did is started with the skin and fat side first to render it down, get that fat from underneath the skin. And then let me get the onions down. So look at all the flavor in the bottom of the pan. That's all that chicken fat, all the schmaltz down in there, as my buddy Mark Disson would say. All right. Onions in, mushrooms in. Give those a little mix. And then to expedite that process, a little bit of salt. Putting that chicken back in here in a little bit with some thyme and the garlic and then deglazing it. Outstanding. Now we're gonna add a little tomato paste. Hefty tablespoon. I'll stir that around in there and let that cook out. Onions have caramelized, mushrooms haven't broken down. Let's go back in with the chicken, fat side up. Here's the kicker. Grab that Marsala. We're gonna come in and deglaze with about a cup of that Marsala. You should smell it. The sweetness, the richness of that, but it's not gonna be just Marsala. We're gonna hit it with a little chicken stock as well, up about 3/4 of the way. Coming over to the wood-fired oven. We grab these root veggies out. Slide that in. Check that out. Look at that chicken right there. I'm gonna fire up this burner and remove the chicken. Why? So I can let it reduce. I want this sauce to reduce even more. You see I've got that nice crunchy skin right up there on top because I didn't fill it up with too much liquid, but I really want this to reduce down and almost make like a gravy. I'm just gonna mount it with a little bit of butter, stir that in. Now we'll just hit it with a touch of some acid and a touch of parsley. Oh, and this is how we're gonna do it. Right on top. Look at that. And then just a little touch of the Italian parsley. A little breast of that. There we go, all the goodness. There we go, and I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of oil. So what's gonna happen here, this is actually a dish that's kind of come off of an Italian dish called a matriciana. And what happens, it's a spicy dish. It's got a little bit of heat to it, but it's got bacon and tomatoes. Now, the bacon that you can use in this, I'm just using regular bacon because that's what I have, but pancetta would work nice because it doesn't have any of the smokiness, but this will just be fine the way this is my Guido version, okay? I'm gonna cut this up. There we go. So that'll all start to break apart in just a second. I cook this bacon down and want it to be nice and crispy. And I cut it ahead of time versus doing it in the long pieces, because when you do it in the long pieces like you're doing for breakfast, you have a tendency that certain areas don't get cooked as far as the other. Okay, so I pull these out. And this is going into the tomato and bacon pasta, which is kind of a spicy bacon, onion, garlic, tomato pasta, real nice light sauce. And some water working for it. So there's a little residual in there. I need to hit it with a little bit of olive oil. There we go. And you do it as you like. The red onions that I chopped up. Yep, pan's ready. Gotta make sure I got some sizzle going there. Okay. The garlic that I did in the food processor, about a 1/4 cup of that. I'm gonna lay that right on top of the onions for a second and wait for the onions to cook a bit. And then a little red chili flake. Now the chili flake, I love spicy food, but you know, sometimes these can get like little nuggets in there and they're hot, kind of like we do with jalapeños. I'm gonna throw this down into the oil and let that kind of work its way into the oil, moves the heat all around the dish. Okay, so that's working. Let me get some salt on this water. Use a big stock pot. Use a lot of water. Cook this pasta the right way. Pasta really needs to be treated with respect. What happens, it gets overcooked, or we try to put too much pasta into too small amount of water. Not what we want to have happen. Got a nice hard boil going. Get the pasta down in. There we go. Okay. 2. All right, now we're gonna move all this together. And again, I'm not doing super high heat on this. Not really looking for a big caramelization on it. Looking to cook everything, pull all the flavor out. Okay. That's there. I'm gonna hold on to that bacon because after I make this whole sauce, right before I toss it with the pasta, I'm gonna throw the crunchy bacon in there. Gonna hit it with a little bit of salt, little fresh cracked black. And let's get these aromas down. Put more in if you're gonna if you want it more saucy. This is just gonna be kind of a nice light accompaniment sauce to go with this pasta because there's so much big flavor already going on. Here's the deglazing. This is tomato and bacon pasta I'm making. Hit it with a little Sonoma County cab. Now what that's gonna do is deglaze the bottom of that pan, pull some flavor off. There we go, okay. Excellent. And now I need to get in some of that bacon that I did, some Parmesan cheese, and some chiffonade basil. Okay, so we distribute that around. The crunchy bacon, I didn't put that in too soon. If I put it in too soon, it would have got all soft from the tomato sauce. And then a little bit of Reggiano Parmigiana. Had the deli grate it for me because I knew I was going to be going through a lot. Look at that. Doing these jalapeno peppers, they're going to be going to a stuffed jalapeno pepper. Now I'm going to do it with sausage and 3 different cheeses. The ribs are actually the hottest part of this, but I'm making like a little boat inside of this. Now check that out. Okay? Now I'm using the big jalapenos, and I'm throwing them on this roasting pan, and what I'm gonna do is pop them in the oven for like 5 or 10 minutes and let a little pre-cook go on these, because if I put the sausage and cheese mixture in there, by the time these jalapenos cook to where they're kind of nice and sweet and roasted, it's gonna be forever. I'm using a different variety of cheeses here. I got some mozzarella, of course, Italian, you got me. Little mascarpone, that's the interesting one, and a little Parmesan. If you don't have mascarpone, you can go cream cheese. But I like the mascarpone because we got some peppers here. They're gonna be kind of spicy, yeah. And the mascarpone has a little bit of sweetness to it, so the sweetness of the mascarpone will go along well. So that in a big bowl. Let me see if I'm ready here yet. I'm really about keeping that pan not quite hot enough. You see how it's not giving me a big shh? Cranking the heat all the way, but we'll just wait a second. Let's get the mozzarella down. Now the mozzarella, these cheeses will get mixed together. After I cook this sausage with some red bell pepper and some of the onion, what's gonna happen is we'll let it cool and then we'll mix it together to stuff the peppers. A little bit of Parmesan. That's good. It's about 2 to 1 on the mascarpone to everything else. Now you see a lot of times mascarpone being used in what? Yeah, tiramisu, one of my favorite. You know, I don't have a lot of desserts that I enjoy, but that's really my favorite with the lady fingers. Ah, it's great. Now you see it's a little bit hard, so I'm gonna give it a chance, move it around a bit, just bringing it out of the fridge and just give it a chance to soften up so when I mix it all together. And then I've got this sweet Italian sausage, which I've got some red bell peppers and some garlic and some onions. Cook that down. Now this is kind of about room temperature. The reason is I want to cool it down. Don't want to melt the cheese putting hot sausage in it. And I also don't want to put this hot mixture into these peppers. So I kind of mix this around a little bit. I kept all the cheeses out to kind of let them soften up so I can move them together a little bit easier. Okay. So you get this mixed together. Now grab one of these peppers. Now these peppers, like I said, I popped them in the oven for about 10 minutes to soften them up, also to make them so, you know, it's not so crunchy when you bite into it. By the time this mixture gets hot, because the cheese is gonna melt real quick, sausage is already cooked, so by the time it gets hot, it won't have enough time to cook the pepper. So kind of mold it in like that, not too much cheese, don't want it flowing over and burning on the pan. Kind of a nice little mold like that. So there you go, bunch of them to fill. Little tedious to stuff all these the whole time, but well worth it, especially when you're doing something like poker night. Take a look at them. I'm just gonna put them in. Now what's gonna happen is I've got the oven at 350, but now I'm gonna turn it to broil. Keep it a little bit off of the broiler. If I put it right up underneath there, boom, I'm gonna burn. So I want this to cook it all the way through, or kind of warm it all the way through, but put a nice crust on it. So we'll hit it up to, I think medium broil should work. These jalapeno poppers, look at them. I mean, this is the way they're supposed to be done. You've got mascarpone cheese, you got mozzarella, Parmesan, done with the sweet Italian sausage, some pepper, some onion, some garlic. Just hit it with a little bit of onion, and this is gonna be going for these great GUY-Talian nachos. Let the meat kind of cook down, get nice and brown, a little crisp to it. Just gonna hit a pinch of some garlic. I'm not worried about the garlic burning right now because there's so much moisture in the pan. I'm gonna let this turn the heat down a bit. These are gonna be topped on top of some great Italian nachos. And speaking of great Italian nachos, I need to work on the salsa for that. Capers and peppadews. You know, I love the peppadew. And this kind of sweet, a little bit of heat, but it's gonna be a great basis for this. So some tomatoes, some onions, all gonna go together to make this great Italian salsa. Go ahead and dice these up. Peppadews in the bowl. And to really give this Italian salsa its own little kick, just a touch of that great peppadew liquor that's in there. Next up, tomatoes. It's a lot of tomatoes, but it is a salsa. Chop those capers up so they're not little briny buds that scare somebody when they get a bite. Next, red onion. And now some parsley. Parsley's done. Okay. A lot of chopping here on Big Bite, I know, but it always makes it worth it. And this going on top of the nachos is gonna be dynamite. Okay, a little more garlic. some salt, fresh cracked pepper, and let's give this a little mix. And a little olive oil on top of that. Not too much, but wow, look at that. Now I'm gonna get into doing some of the, well, it looks like some chips for the nachos here. These are wonton skins. So drop them into the oil, separating them a little bit. Don't want to put 2 or 3 at the same time. Let's get a few of those in. It's the layers that really make this work. You know, it's not just put down a bunch of chips and clump everything on top. Take the time, stack the chips nicely, get the meat on there evenly, and these are really gonna come out great. So when people grab them, they get one that really has kind of everything to it. All right, these bad boys into the broiler. Now, keep an eye on them because those skins have already been fried. They can go really fast. Oh, looks dynamite. Sprinkle that on the top. Then, like you do in an Italian style, gotta have some salami. So julienned up some salami, some green onions, some nice color in there. Of course, some basil, a little Italian parsley, and for some of that fresh bite, how about a little bit of pepperoncini that's diced up? Oh, the pancetta. If you can have your butcher or your deli person cut that for you in about 1/4 inch, that's what you're looking for. If you don't have the pancetta to work with, thick cut bacon with as little seasoning to it as possible. I need to get some of the pancetta out. And I've taken this pancetta, gone nice and slow. Mom, if you don't mind, I need 4 yolks and 1 whole egg. Half of the pancetta comes out, nice and crispy. I haven't put too much heat on this. Nice crunch, nice crisp. Okay, so we'll hold on to this. Let it continue to cook down a little bit, and let me get some salt into my pasta water. Very nice. And bucatini is the pasta. Now this is, out of all the types of pasta, this is my favorite. The kids are big penne rigate, you know, the penne pasta. This to me is kind of the cross. Love spaghetti, love the texture. It's what we used to throw on the ceiling in Ferndale. But this right here has a hole through it, bucatini, small hole. So what we're gonna do is take a pound of this. And remember, when it comes to pasta, I really think spending the money on it, getting the pasta that's got kind of a rough finish to it, not a super sheen, it's the way that it was dried, it was the way that it was processed, pay the money for the pasta. You're gonna eat it, do it, okay? So that goes down. Nothing like dry pasta, it just gives, it gives a better tooth. Al dente, you know, to the tooth.
Yeah.
Now, a little cayenne pepper, just a touch. I mean, we're talking just a touch. And a little black pepper. Mom, if you want to go ahead and grab a fork and kind of mix this up a little bit. There we go. Bring it right under here. So pull the rest of this off. I just have to divide it. I'm going to save some of that pancetta right there. I wanted to let it go a little bit further. Some of the pancetta is going to go on top. Let it cool down a little bit, and then we're gonna mix it into the eggs. So it's gonna be the eggs, and Mom, you can go ahead and throw that cheese in whenever you're ready. We're not making an omelet. This is all the beginning preparation, right in there. This is all the beginning preparation for making the carbonara. It's very simple, but it's just premium ingredients done the right way. I'll take the heat off of that. I'm gonna mix that bucatini in there in just a little bit. I have got some bucatini pasta down that I'm gonna drop some frozen peas into, all for the carbonara. Now, you're saying, you put the peas in, oh, they're gonna overcook, it's gonna be crazy. No, what's gonna happen, I'm gonna give them one little quick stir, and I'm gonna take them out. That's just gonna thaw them out just enough. I don't want them to sit there and get thawed out on the counter, then they get mushy, and it just won't work right, okay? Over to this pan here that has a little bit of that pancetta fat. That's what I'm looking for. Reserve that water there, just to make a little bit of the pan sauce. Pancetta, some yolks, and some Parmesan cheese all go together for this dish. Now, bucatini, the pasta with a hole in it, the spaghetti with a hole in it, isn't the normal one that you use for this dish, but not to worry, it's my favorite. So what I want to do is move this real quick and make sure that I don't create omelet a la pasta. Okay? Now let me get a little bit of Italian parsley into there. Oh, get down into the bowl. And the pancetta's already there. Beautiful color. Right behind you, Mom. Okay. Okay, I got a little reserved pancetta that we hit right on top of that. And a little bit of the Italian parsley and some more of the grated Parmigiano Reggiano. Here we go. We're going to take this chicken breast and cut this and plop it into the pan. Now, any of the seasoning that's left over, unfortunately, you can't use again, so be a little sparing with it. A little bit of the blackening spice. Now, that pan's getting nice and hot while we're working right now, and we're going to add just a little bit of canola oil to it, just to make sure that when the chicken breast first goes in, that it doesn't stick right to it. Get the seasoning really packed into these breasts, okay, like so. Take a look at that. Now let's hit the other sides. All right. Pack them in with your finger, and there we are. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Look at the colors, look at the blackening. It's not the chicken, it's actually the spices that you're seeing. We're gonna get that onto that side, and then we're gonna transfer it to the oven where we're gonna let it cook for a little bit longer and make sure that we cook that chicken all the way through. Now, take these chicken breasts in the blackening skillet, pop it into the oven at 350, let this hang out in there a little bit. So before we drop the pasta, let's season that water a bit. There we go, and in with about a pound. Now take a second when you first pop that pasta in the water because you don't want the pasta to cook at the bottom and not at the top. So we're gonna get that all worked down into the pot. Just pulling these blackened breasts out of the oven. Look at those. We're gonna let these rest on the cutting board for a little bit so when we cut into them, we don't lose all the great juices and flavor. But while those are resting, we're gonna get started on this Cajun chicken Alfredo sauce. So a nice big skillet will work great. Get some heat going on that, and time to go to the fridge. Now, the heavy cream, of course, for the Alfredo, but what is the real key ingredient? It's the white wine. We are going to add a little bit of white wine to it to deglaze it. And some of my favorite sun-dried tomatoes, marinated sun-dried tomatoes. So let's get these up here. Now we do need a couple cloves of garlic also. Those are real key important. And what we're gonna do is something different on these cloves. On these cloves, we're not gonna put them in the press. Why? Well, we wanna go ahead and mince them up. Now it's gonna be a little bit bigger piece than when we actually do it in the press. And that is because when it goes in the pan, if it's too small, has a tendency to burn a little bit more. So let's break these down. So this should just finish this up, and my pan should be ready to go. So let's hit it with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. In with this minced garlic. Ah, beautiful. And I'm gonna do enough sun-dried tomatoes here to have some for the Cajun chicken Alfredo. Mince those up. Those go in. Now let's get to the chicken breast, because we're gonna cut this chicken breast up kind of in a little bit of a julienne. Pop those in. Should smell that garlic working right now. Watching that garlic so it doesn't get into the burn stage. Let's hit it with a little bit of kosher salt and a little fresh cracked pepper. Ah, boy. A little white wine. Stand back, that could flare up on you. And the sauce that's gonna tie it all together for the Alfredo part of it, some heavy cream. Ah, looks great. And right into the pot. Pasta down first and put the chicken up on top so everybody can see it.